The sound of laughter was the last thing I expected to wake up to at 3 in the morning. Not the soft, kind laughter of a mother remembering something funny, but that sharp, gleeful kind that slices the dark and makes your stomach tighten before your eyes even open. "Pack your stuff, Mia," Mom said, standing at the edge of my bed, phone flashlight blinding my eyes. "You're the surprise guest tonight." I blinked, half asleep. "What?" "Guessed where?" She snickered, shaking her head like I was the punchline of her favorite joke. "You'll see. Come on before I change my mind. Grab what you need. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." There was no warmth in her voice, just that same bitter humor she'd developed ever since my sister, Lila, moved back home with her boyfriend. I looked past her shoulder. The house was dark, quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft hiss of wind outside. "Mom, it's 3 in the morning," I whispered. "Can't this wait until—" Her hand shot out and pulled the blanket from me. "No, it can't. You've had your free stay long enough. Consider this your checkout notice." My throat went dry. "What are you talking about? You said I could stay until—" "Until I got tired of looking at you," she snapped. "Well, guess what? That's now. Congratulations, surprise guest." She tossed a trash bag onto my bed. "Pack your essentials, don't make it dramatic." My hands trembled as I stuffed some clothes inside. Jeans, a hoodie, my work uniform from the diner. I looked over at the family photos still hanging on the wall. There was one of us, me, Mom, Dad, and Lila, at the lake from years ago. Mom had that wide, fake smile. Dad looked distracted. Lila stood in the middle, golden hair and that smug grin she wore whenever she knew she was the favorite. Mom followed my gaze and laughed again. "You think I'm sentimental? Take a picture if it means so much. The frames stay here." Her cruelty wasn't new. It had been building for years. After Dad died, she seemed to pour every ounce of affection she had left into Lila and everything bitter into me. I used to think it was grief. Now I knew it was choice. We drove in silence. The old sedan rattled with every turn. The streets were empty, cold lamps flickering against the cracked sidewalks. I pressed my bag to my chest, watching the neighborhood blur by. "Where are we going?" I asked again. "You'll see," she said, tapping the steering wheel to the beat of a song only she could hear. "You always wanted a new place to stay. I'm giving you one." Her laughter filled the car again, and this time I felt something inside me quietly snap. When she pulled up to the building, I thought maybe she was joking. It looked run down, the paint peeling, the lights buzzing weakly. A sign by the door read, "City Haven Women's Shelter." "Mom," I whispered, my voice cracking. "You're kidding, right?" She smiled like she'd just delivered the best punchline of her life. "You wanted independence, didn't you? There. Be independent." I reached for her hand. "Please, don't do this. I don't have anyone else." She leaned in close, her perfume chokingly sweet, her eyes sharp with satisfaction. "You have yourself. That's all you deserve." The sound of her door unlocking echoed like a gunshot. "Out." I stepped into the freezing night, my bag slipping off my shoulder. The car idled for a moment. Then she lowered the window and called out one last time. "Oh, and Mia? Don't come crying back. Lila needs her sleep." And she laughed, that same hollow, echoing laugh, as the car rolled away, taillights shrinking into the distance. I stood there until the sound disappeared, until the air bit through my clothes, until my shaking hands couldn't hold the zipper anymore. When I finally looked up, a woman at the shelter door was watching me. Her face was soft, lined with exhaustion but not cruelty. "You okay, sweetheart?" she asked. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. She put her arm around me. "Come on inside. You're safe here." Inside smelled of stale coffee and soap. A heater rattled in the corner. A few women were sleeping on cots, some murmuring in dreams, others staring blankly at the ceiling. The woman led me to an empty cot. "You can rest here tonight. We'll talk in the morning." I sat down, clutching my bag. My eyes burned, but no tears came. I'd cried too much in that house to have any left. Hours later, as dawn broke, I heard laughter outside again. Not my mother's, but real laughter, light and easy. I looked out the window and saw one of the women helping another fix her coat, both smiling through the cold. And that's when I realized something that both broke me and stitched me together again. Kindness still existed, just not in the people who were supposed to give it first. I lay back on the cot, staring at the cracked ceiling, whispering to myself, "She left me here to humiliate me, but she just gave me my way out." And I didn't know it yet, but that night, that cruel, humiliating 3 a.m. drop-off would be the last time my mother ever had control over me. The first morning at the shelter felt unreal. The cot creaked when I sat up. Cold light leaked through the blinds. Someone was already brewing coffee that smelled faintly burnt. For the first time in years, I didn't hear my mother's voice echoing through the walls. That silence felt heavier than her insults ever had. I found work within a week, washing dishes at the same diner I used to serve in before things at home collapsed. The manager, Carla, didn't ask questions. She just handed me an apron and said, "Clock in at 6." That tiny act of mercy broke something open inside me. At night, I'd return to the shelter, my hands raw from soap, and heat, and stare at the cracked ceiling until my eyes blurred. Every sound, the shuffle of feet, a whisper, a cough, reminded me I wasn't alone anymore, but it still felt like exile. 2 weeks later, the shock hardened into focus. Mom hadn't just abandoned me. She'd made sure Lila replaced me. I learned that when Carla handed me a newspaper. "Thought you'd want to see this," she said. There it was, an article about the city's charity gala, featuring a smiling photo of my mother and sister accepting an award for their community generosity. The caption beneath read, "Donations to local women's shelters spearheaded by the Larson family." My jaw locked. They were using me, my suffering, as proof of their generosity. That night, when I stepped outside the shelter for air, the winter sky looked endless, gray, and sharp-edged. I didn't have tears left for them. I had plans instead. First, I called the shelter director, Ms. Avery, and asked if she'd be attending the gala's follow-up luncheon. She nodded slowly. "Why?" "I just want to thank the donors personally," I said. She studied me. "Mia, whatever you're thinking, keep it calm. We can't risk the shelter's funding." "I promise," I lied. A week later, I stood outside the banquet hall in the same cheap uniform I wore at work, carrying a tray of hors d'oeuvres. I'd volunteered through the catering company, knowing Mom would never notice me if I looked like someone serving her. Inside, the chandeliers spilled light over polished marble. My mother's laughter floated above the clinking glasses, practiced and sharp. Lila stood beside her, shimmering in silver. "Everyone deserves a second chance," Mom told a small group, her tone saintly. "We just want to help the unfortunate find their place." Unfortunate. I forced my breath steady as I placed another tray on the table. When she turned her head, our eyes met, just for a second. Confusion flickered across her face, then vanished behind a smile. She didn't even recognize me at first. That hurt worse than I'd imagined. Lila, though, noticed. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. I saw fear bloom in her eyes. Good. She remembered what she'd said that night on the phone. "Don't take it personal, Mia. Mom just can't carry everyone." After the event, I slipped into the coat room and left a small envelope on the donor ledger, one containing every receipt proving Mom had redirected the shelter's funds to her own charity committee. I'd spent nights photocopying them from the public donation office, each paper cut on my hands a reminder of why I couldn't stop. The next morning, the city's newspaper headline read, "Local family under investigation for misuse of charity funds." I didn't smile. Not yet. At lunch, Mom's number flashed on my phone. I let it ring twice before answering. "What did you do?" she hissed, her voice shaking. "I just let the truth check itself in," I said quietly. "You always said I couldn't survive without you. Now it looks like you can't survive without me. You think you're better than us?" "No," I said. "Just freer." Her breath came uneven through the line. "You'll regret this." I already did, I said, and hung up. That night, I walked back to the shelter, snow beginning to fall again, the lights dim but warm. Ms. Avery caught my arm. "You didn't make a scene, did you?" "No," I said. They did. For the first time since that 3 a.m. laugh, I felt my lungs fill completely. The revenge wasn't poetic, it was practical, cold, and final. I hadn't needed to scream or curse. I just gave the world the paperwork my mother created herself. And when the shelter lights flickered above me, I realized something simple. She hadn't dropped me off here to ruin me. She'd accidentally delivered me to the first place that ever truly saw me. Winter thawed slowly that year, but the bitterness in me melted faster than the snow outside the shelter. By the time spring came, the shelter didn't feel like a punishment anymore. It felt like a beginning. I'd saved enough money from the diner to rent a room above a bookstore. It was small, with peeling wallpaper and a leaky sink, but it was mine. My own light switch, my own key. I spent evenings there reading by the window, hearing the hum of the city like a heartbeat. Every sound was freedom, the rumble of buses, laughter from the cafe below, even the rain against the glass. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to yell my name or slam a door. When the investigation into my parents' charity reached the local news, I didn't even have to lift a finger. Reporters swarmed the house I once called home. They filmed my mother leaving in a coat too thin for the cold, covering her face from cameras. Lila, the golden child, stood beside her, crying. Real or rehearsed, I couldn't tell. Mom called again. I didn't answer. Then she sent a message. "We're ruined. Are you proud of yourself?" I typed a reply, but never sent it. What could I say? That she ruined me first? That every bruise she left wasn't on my body, but somewhere deeper, where it took years to fade? Silence was the cleanest revenge I could give. Weeks later, I found out the shelter had received new funding from donors who saw the truth and wanted to support the real work. Ms. Avery offered me a part-time position helping new residents find housing and jobs. "You understand what they're feeling," she said. The first woman I helped was younger than me, trembling with her baby in her arms. She couldn't meet my eyes when she whispered, "My mom kicked me out." I didn't ask for details. I just said softly, "You'll be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you will." Her shoulders relaxed, and I saw a bit of my younger self fade from her face. A few months passed before I saw them again. My mother and sister. They came to the diner one rainy afternoon. I recognized Mom's perfume before I turned around. She looked smaller, thinner, her makeup uneven. Lila stood beside her, clutching her purse like it was life support. "Mia," Mom said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You look, well." I set the coffee pot down carefully. "What do you want?" She hesitated. "We're staying at a motel outside town. Things have been hard," Lila chimed in, voice trembling. "Mom hasn't been feeling well. The investigation took everything. We lost the house." I waited. Mom's lips tightened. "You work here, don't you? Maybe you could—" "Help you?" I said. "That's what you're asking?" Her silence was answer enough. I leaned closer, my voice calm. "The night you dropped me at the shelter, you said I had myself, and that's all I deserved. You were right." Lila started to cry, but Mom just stared at me, furious, humiliated, still trying to hold on to control that didn't exist anymore. I placed 2 empty cups on the counter in front of them. "Coffee's on the house. It's the last thing you'll ever get free from me." When they left, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt done, truly done. The hate that used to live in my chest was gone, replaced by something quieter. Peace, maybe, or closure. That night, I walked past the shelter again. Lights glowed through the windows, soft and warm. A new girl stood outside with a duffel bag, shivering, uncertain. I opened the door for her and said, "Come on, you're safe here." As the door closed behind us, I realized my mother's cruelty hadn't ended my story. It had forced me to write my own beginning. And when I looked back one last time at the dark street beyond the shelter, I smiled to myself. They dropped me off to destroy me. All they did was deliver me home. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.